Just taking a look at his stats for Chelsea, where he largely played as a central striker. However, under Mikel Arteta, he sees him playing and bringing a huge amount of extra strength to the midfield. It's the left side of a midfield trio with Rice and Odegaard that you'd be looking at here in this possible Arsenal starting 11. However, Stevie Nickel is not a fan.
I don't see how Havertz plays in there.
Oh, really?
Give me one good reason why he plays in the middle and has to do a little bit of everything. I don't see it. He couldn't do the one thing that he needed to do for Chelsea, but you're going to ask him to do 2 or 3 other things
So
as well.
Where would you have Havertz?
I wouldn't have him. I wouldn't have him.
You've spent a lot of money on him, Stevie.
Martinelli's playing, Xhaka's starting, and are you telling me that Jesus isn't going to start? Of course he's going to start. You can't have that 3 in the middle of the park. When was the last time this guy made a challenge or got a ball back? Does he have ability? Yes, he has. But it's not in the middle. It's not in the engine room in the middle of the park. It can't be.
Kieran, do you agree with your fellow fullback here?
Kay, I don't know with this one. I don't know, honestly. I'd actually love to know what Havertz is thinking himself, to be honest. You know, I wonder if he's sat there thinking, you know, how have I managed to snag this move after the last, 2 seasons I've had, or is he thinking that he's genuinely worth this and he's gonna deliver? But for me, 70 million. It's 70 million is a signature signing. For 70 million, I want a player that, when things are going bad or there's a dip, that he's the one to put the team on his back and say, "Don't worry, boys, I got this." That's what 70 million to me brings. And I'll be honest, at first sight, I don't see it. Not saying that he's not got it or that it can't happen. And I love it when players, go and prove people wrong. I loved seeing De Bruyne and how he evolved after leaving Chelsea, Salah as well. But just right now, I don't see it, because I think that role that he's going to play is obviously basically a replacement for Xhaka. And, that's where I think Mikel sees him. And the Havertz that we know, we've just not seen that before. So it's hard to judge. I don't know if he's physical enough to be in there. I don't know if he's got the ability to use his body in situations to get out of trouble, or like the technical ability to play in tight areas. And that's the midfield players that we know of Arsenal over years and years. Majority of them had that. It's always been one of the strengths of Arsenal, and certainly the teams that I played in there. That position. That position was valued so highly, even by all of the players and the people of the club, because we knew how important those little moments are in the games, where those players that have the ability in one move can change the game entirely. The Cazolas, the Wilshires, the Ozils, Fabregas, Song, Rosicky, the list goes on. And with Havertz, it's like I just don't know if I can see that in him yet. So we'll see. But I'm excited to see how he performs, especially after the last couple of seasons.
Well, in terms of the starting 11, let's look at some stuff. So here's the quote from Arteta: "He will bring a huge amount of extra strength to your midfield and variety to your play." I don't disagree that he'll bring variety to the play, but as Kieran mentioned, Xhaka and Partey were in there last year. They're 2 ball winners. And then you had Odegaard, who was a very clever player and a playmaker. So that's a big sea change. Now, you look at the fact that Zinchenko tucks into midfield as well. Havertz is not a natural midfielder. And Martinelli's an out-and-out wide guy. Somebody will have to track back. It's very similar to the United side that Rob put up with how Mason Mount was going to fit in. It's a very, very attacking midfield on paper. But go to Bayer Leverkusen and look how many times Kai Havertz played in midfield. Go to Chelsea and look how many times Kai Havertz played in midfield. Go and look at Germany and see how many times Kai Havertz has played in midfield. I'll bet you could count it in one hand. So, unless we're missing something here, Mikel Arteta looks as if he might be signing a player and playing him in a position that really he's quite unfamiliar with, because at Leverkusen he was a guy who played through the middle and he played wide on a front line. strong in the air, powerful, super talented young player, lost his way at Chelsea. There's no doubt about that. I agree with Stevie in terms of, if you sign Declan Rice, that's a big workload on that player. Not against the mediocre teams in the Premier League, but when you're playing in those games against the top six that are really going to matter, and when you're playing in the Champions League, which Arsenal are in. When I thought about the Havertz signing, which was a surprise to everybody, I thought, okay, all right, it's a lot of money, but he obviously feels he can rebuild this guy that was at Leverkusen that almost everybody wanted. But he's going to be at the start of this Arsenal season, to me, in my opinion, was going to be somebody who would come in if Martinelli, Jesus or Xhaka were having a tough time or an injury, or Martin Odegaard, got injured or whatever, and Kai Havertz could come in there and do a job. So he's covered bases. Like what City have done, they've covered bases with quality players, right? Which Arsenal need to do. There's no denying that. Where the big headache is are we throwing away, Arsenal that is, last season's blueprint of what almost took them to a Premier League title in terms of the shape? Are we throwing that away and making changes for the sake of it by bringing this player in? That's a big question. You look at City. City only have one number 6 in Rodri, but the other guys are kind of natural midfielders. Gundogan. Kevin De Bruyne is a central midfielder. He just so happens to be one of the most talented central midfielders in the final third. But these guys still work back. They still understand the role. They still learnt that role as kids coming through. When he was in Belgium, De Bruyne, when he was at Chelsea, when he was at Wolfsburg, he was a midfielder. Kai Havertz is a guy that plays in the front line. That's the problem. We're taking a guy who's a goal scorer, who struggled at Chelsea, and moving him back the way. I'm not sure over the course of 38 games that that's going to work for Mikel Arteta, if I'm being honest.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.